Well, welcome to our Tune In Tuesday. Here we are with the wonderful Monica Rosenfeld. And our Tune In Tuesday is always giving you 3 quick tips to tune up your business. Now, let me introduce to you the very wonderful Monica Rosenfeld. Now, Monica is a good friend of mine, and she's also a PR guru, I like to say, the media magnifier, who is going to give us some fantastic information today. Now, Monica, would you give us a quick introduction just so we know who you are and what you do?
Sure, and thanks for that lovely intro, Kieran, and it's fabulous to be here. So I've been running my PR agency, WordStorm PR, for 20 years now. I've worked with hundreds of business owners, in order to maximize their media presence and get them in the headlines to increase the trust and credibility of their brand. And I also educate business owners through keynote presentations at conferences or through training, workshops and media training about how to get into the media essentially and establish yourself as a premium offering.
That's so good. Thank you, Monica. And I just know you've got some fantastic tips for us today. So let's just jump straight into the action. What is the first tip that you would give to people to magnify their message today?
Okay, fantastic. Well, what everyone needs to remember is that the role of the journalist is to produce content that adds value to or engages their audience to keep their audience coming back for more. So the journalist is after a story, something with a hook or a news hook. It's not an ad. You're not paying the journalist to do this. That's the advertising department. So you're literally feeding journalists content that will add value to their audience. So it's very important to make your angle newsworthy and speak to the journalists in what I call their language. And I've got 3 tips within this first tip to help you how to do this. So 3 of the angles that we use every day to get our ordinary clients in the headlines are things such as thought leadership. So that's where you have an opinion on the topic of your industry. You have something to say. Maybe it's about the future of your industry, or maybe there's some legislation being passed that you can comment on the implications for not only the industry, but people as a whole. Maybe something's happening where you can be an expert commenting on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So for instance, if you're an HR expert, you would have a field day this year talking about all the issues relating to how to treat your workforce, the incentives being offered by the government, et cetera, et cetera. So thought leadership is one. The second one is top 5 tips. So this is where it's called in the PR lingo a listicle. And journalists love the way to frame stories in this way because it adds value in a very short period of time to someone consuming media on their iPhone, which is what a lot of us do when we're waiting for someone or we're doing something else. We're always distracted and more often on our iPhone consuming media. So in here, we're looking at top 5 tips. So top 5 things you need to know about. If you're a hairdresser, top 5 hairdressing styles for the upcoming spring season. But it could also be myths or pitfalls. So maybe you work in the business of helping people buy home. Top 5 suburbs to avoid, or top 5 pitfalls when buying your first house. So I think you get the idea.
Yeah,
and whatever your expertise is, you can frame your content along those 5 tips. And if you pitch it in that way, a journalist instantly recognizes it as something sort of newsworthy and a format that they can produce content to engage their audience. And the third angle that we love to use all the time is statistics. So journalists love a good old statistic because it makes them look like they've done some research.
Yes, always good.
Yes, and just like with the tips, it makes the people consuming the media feel like they've learned something in a very short period of time. So research other stats that have been, researched by other organizations. You can use that stat, always credit the organization that did the research, but you're getting the kudos because you're commenting on the implications of that stat. Or you can do your own survey, or some businesses, particularly online retailers and online businesses, can have their own huge amount of data just based on their own customer and clients, purchase behaviors and behaviors in general. So journalists, these are just 3 examples of how to take your expertise and content and layer it onto hooks that are newsworthy and will get the journalist's attention.
Oh, that's so good. So we've got thought leadership, we have
Thought leadership,
top 5 lists,
tips and
and
statistics.
statistics. It's so good. So much practical gems right there. And what's tip number 2?
Tip number 2, and this one's really important. Well, all 3 are really important, but make it targeted. Whatever you do, don't send your email to news@newslimited.com.au or editor@such and such.com.org or whatever their email is. It has to be sent to a person. So anytime you bother or you don't bother, you just send it to newsdesk@whatever, it's lost. No one sees those emails. Believe me, I worked at a current affair. I know the behind the scenes, and they tell you, the media outlet says, oh, we want to hear from you. Email us at, Channel 9 at the current affair, whatever. No one looks at it. So the way to discover who you should be emailing is literally think about which media you'd like to be in. So let's say you want to be in the small business section of Fairfax newspapers, so the SMH, etc., the Age and equivalent papers across the state. Read the small business section and see who writes for that section.
Yeah.
They've got key journalists that write for that section. Their names are not hidden, and quite often they have their email addresses right there. So you send your pitch to them, and you show them why it's relevant for their audience. Or you might even want to comment on an article that you've recently read, and tell them how much you enjoyed it and that you've got a different point of view, or you've got a similar story that you feel would really interest their audience. It's all about their audience at the end of the day.
That is so good. And I love that you talking about being specific, even using something like LinkedIn to be able to find the details of the person and to find that information there.
Just become a bit of a detective. And
Yeah.
to be honest, most of the time these things aren't hidden. They're not hiding from you, even though you feel like they might be hiding and that they don't want your email. If you're sending them your pitch in the right way to the right person, it helps them. Journalists are looking for content, and you're helping them do their research by handing it to them on a platter if you do it in the right way.
That's so good. And what's tip number 3?
Tip number 3, it's all about the headline. So when you send them an email pitch, in the subject line, you will have a headline that relates to your story. And it's really important to make this headline something that's going to get their attention. Now, how do you get their attention? The way you do it is by creating a headline that you can imagine being the headline of an article when they write your story. Or if it's TV, the thing that they'll announce on the overnight commercials, tomorrow tune into A Current Affair where we'll teach you how to, look 10 years younger using an Australian-made product. So it's think about the headline. So many people are tempted to say, world's most innovative company launches new app. That is boring as batshit, sorry if I'm...
It's okay, it's all good.
But that's not going to get their attention at all. Everyone says they're the world's most innovative. A new app is developed every nanosecond, probably by this stage.
Yeah.
So that tells them nothing. So I'll give you an example. One of our clients is an online retailer called Costume Box, and the angle that we pitched to the media was actually the backstory of their business. So they've got a thriving business, the 2 co-founders, and we could have gone to the media saying how amazing their business is and how they're doing so well. But we know for these small business stories, it needs more juice. Yeah. The journalist wants to know what's the heart of the story, what inspired them to start the business. And so we're always digging into what's that backstory, what's that sexy human interest element that's going to get the journalist interested. So in this case, our client trained as an archaeologist. That's what she wanted to be and went to uni for many years. And at her very first dig, a literal dig, she hurt her back and could no longer do that dig, and
No.
fell pregnant. And
Oh,
she ended up in her obstetrician's waiting room, sitting opposite a lovely lady. They got chatting, and now they're business partners and have.
wow.
So the headline of that press release, which is also in the pitch email subject line, is how an archaeologist dug up an online retail empire.
Oh, that's
So,
so good.
you know, it's like taking, and I had to dig to find, pardon the pun, but I really had to chat to my client for a long time to get this info from her. What were you doing before then? What about then? What? And at the minute she said archaeology, I was like, that's it. This is the spin. This is the hook that's going to get the journo interested.
Yeah.
Anyway, lo and behold, we pitched that out. Within half an hour, I think, news.com.au came back to us, wrote a feature article which was syndicated across all their associated titles. And it's the headline that got it. If I would have written a headline, you know, two amazing women making great, you know, having a great online business, it's absolutely boring. Like, how many amazing online businesses are there out there? So it's finding that hook and making sure you put in the headline, and making sure the headline reads more like the headline of what they would write in a media outlet to get their audience to continue reading.
That's so good. So from all of the things I hear in what you shared with us, there's an immense amount of skills and expertise in all that you said. So if someone needs help, they can, how can they reach out to you for assistance and for help?
Sure. Just email me at monica@wordstormpr.com.au, and I'll be very happy to chat to you and see how I can help you magnify your message in the mainstream.
Yes, so good. And the best bit about Monica is that you first of all get a glimpse into how awesome she is, and the work that she has done and continues to do is fantastic. And I think so highly of her, in fact, that we've decided to work together. So, seeing as you're in the talking seat, do you want to tell everyone about this new workshop that we have coming up in October?
Yes, I'm so excited to be collaborating with you, Kira, and this is going to be really awesome. So we have 2 workshops coming up, one in person and one virtual, and it's all about how to be seen, be heard, and stand out online and in the media. So if you're finding yourself sort of blending into the background and thinking, how do I differentiate myself? How do I make my brand pop? This workshop is designed for you. It's all about breaking through the beige, and we're going to help you break through that beige so that you can illuminate yourself and attract those clients that you really want to work with, or the customers that you know your product is going to help. Because being the world's best secret is not a great business strategy. So we are going to help you release that secret in a way that's going to be attention grabbing, authentic, and get you great results. And yeah, it's very exciting.
Yes, so good. So if that's, we'll put all the details into the comments and the information that goes with this video. It's going to be in person in Sydney or online. If for wherever you are, you can tune into that. In one day, it will be really practical to help you understand what are the key aspects you need to attract attention, who you are as a brand, and how do you express that, whether that's online or through the stories that you tell, and then putting together a 12-month plan. And we're blending both of our knowledge and expertise, our combined 40 years experience. We don't look even that old, do we? 40 years experience to help you put together a plan so you've actually got some action that you can put into place. So thank you so much, Monica, for being here today. And thank you to all of you who tune in, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
See you then. Oops. Yeah.